Blackhawks lose 3-2 to the Kraken. It's their first regulation loss since playing the Kraken in Seattle just a few weeks ago. So they've been on a real hot streak. It was at least what was a 5 or 6 game point streak heading into tonight, and unfortunately they cannot continue the streak. They blow a 2-0 lead as the Kraken scored 3 consecutive goals all in the third period to steal a game on the road. So disappointing loss for the Blackhawks. Obviously the biggest probably talking point of the game was the kind of sequence at the end. About 2 minutes left, Bedard gets in on a breakaway. There was a fumble at the point by Ryan Lindgren. He fumbled the puck. Bedard was crashing on the point. He stole it, went in on a breakaway, and it seemed like he got slashed or hooked by Lindgren, who was back checking, trying to disrupt Bedard's shot. Bedard went for a forehand shot. It looked like there was a penalty from Lindgren on Bedard. Either way, it went uncalled by the official, who had a crystal clear view of it, and then Bedard, who was furious, irate at the official at that point after not getting a call and not getting a shot attempt off on a breakaway in a tied game with 2 minutes left. He had a few words for the official. The replay, it's posted on my Twitter at Blackhawks Focus if you didn't get a chance to catch it. It didn't look like Bedard did too much. He obviously said a few things to the official, but he skated away in a matter of maybe 5 seconds. So it wasn't like he was just staying there yelling at him for 10, 15 seconds. He said his thing and then skated away, but the official gives him an unsportsmanlike penalty with like 2.5 minutes left in the game, and it sends Bedard to the box, put the Kraken on the power play, and the Kraken converted on that power play to take a late 3-2 lead. Blackhawks were not able to score a tying goal with the net empty and ended up falling 3-2 in regulation. I'll make sure to clearly state my opinion. I did think there was a slash on the Bedard shot. I don't know. I'm not necessarily I think it should have been called. It's not the worst thing in the world if that doesn't go called, because I mean, it's a critical situation in the game. You know, it's a breakaway shot and the shot is clearly disrupted. So I do think it was a penalty. But even if it's not called and you made the mistake there, you missed that call or just chose not to call it, to give the unsportsmanlike penalty, I think that's absolutely ridiculous at that stage of the game. Especially there's just at some point you have to realize the situation and what's going on in the game, how much time's left, what that there's a lot of factors that go into that, and to make that kind of call in a 2-2 game with 2 minutes left, I think that was just a really big blunder by the official. Jeff Blashill was notably fuming as well. He was very livid on the bench, and that's something we haven't seen from previous Chicago coaches. So I guess there is one thing that's a positive. Nice to see Blashill sticking up for the guys. But yeah, that's a tough way to lose, but it was really a bad third period by the Blackhawks overall. It wasn't just this one play that, I mean, it did kind of cost them the game, but also the third period was super bad. This was a game they should have won with their play. They were up 2-0 after 2. Tyler Bertuzzi had 2 real nice plays to give them those 2 goals. The first one, he finished off a 3-on-1 play, and the second one, he had one of the craziest passes I've seen. Again, if you didn't see this in real time, check out my Twitter at Blackhawks Focus. I got the post up there, but man, this was an unreal one-handed pass by Bertuzzi. One of the highlights of the season. He makes a cross ice to Teravainen, who finishes with a one-time forehand one-timer and gives the Blackhawks a 2-0 lead through 2 periods. And then the Blackhawks just came out in the third. They looked dry, and they didn't look like they had their legs for whatever the reason. The Kraken dominated the third. They got 2 goals in the first 10 minutes off point shots, and then they continued to control play. Really the only chance the Blackhawks had that third period up until maybe the 6-on-5 moments with a minute left or so was the Bedard breakaway, and obviously we know how that ended up. So the Blackhawks came out, had a real sloppy third period, and that's really the reason why they lost. It wasn't necessarily just that one sequence. I will say, though, part of the reason they may have been tired or they may not have had all of their legs for that third period was because Andrei Burakovsky left this game in the first period after taking a hit from Ryan Lindgren. It didn't look like a terrible hit from Ryan Lindgren because it was all shoulder for sure, but the problem was the shoulder went right to the head. It was kind of a weird situation, which is why I say it wasn't a terrible hit. Burakovsky was going for kind of a puck that was bouncing. He was kind of moving up and down. It wasn't like it was just a standard play. It was a very weird kind of random play. It's hard to describe. You kind of just have to know what I'm talking about if you watch this game. So it was a little bit of a weird scenario. Lindgren committed for a hit. I don't remember necessarily if, how much targeting there was there. I don't know if it should have been a penalty or not. Either way, it's just kind of an unfortunate scenario for Burakovsky, who takes a shoulder to the head and it knocks him out of the game. Obviously, that's going to be a big loss if he can't go tomorrow, which is probably unlikely, as the Blackhawks have a tough home road back-to-back tomorrow in Buffalo. So Burakovsky is going to be a tough loss, and he was a real tough loss for the Blackhawks this game, as they had to run 10 forwards for the second and the third period. They came out and actually played a really good second period. I mentioned the goals, but they were just having multiple dominant shifts. So the power plays looked good. Sam Renzel created a breakaway for himself on the same power play that I think Bertu or Teravainen ended up scoring on. It was a real nice play from Renzel. He found a gap in the defense on the power play breakout, took that gap. Grzelcyk gave him a stretch pass. Renzel got a breakaway chance before the Blackhawks scored on that power play. But overall, it was just a really good second period for the Blackhawks, which hasn't been common this season. It was kind of an inverse game where the first and third weren't too good for the Blackhawks, but the second period they played really well. But yeah, maybe the legs with only 10 forwards kind of caught up to them in the third period, or maybe they just came out slow with the 2-goal lead. Maybe they finally had the good second period and then they just took their foot off the gas. Who knows what the reason was, but either way, it was a sloppy third period that really cost the Blackhawks this game. Gonna get right into the takeaways from you guys over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus. We have a lot of them, and I can only imagine that most of these are probably related to the refs, so I'm just going to skip over the ones that talk about the refs, because I think there's a lot of unhappy Blackhawks fans. We don't need to read every single comment. Some of them I can't read on YouTube. So let's see, though. First one says, Bertuzzi had a great game, which was nice. Russ blew it. Bertuzzi, really nice to have him back in the lineup. He's probably going to get an even more extended role in the offense in tomorrow's game. If Burakovsky can't go, as Bertuzzi started this one on the second line, he'll probably be the first line forward with Connor Bedard tomorrow night in Buffalo, and I think he should be. I honestly was a little surprised. I don't know. It's a tough scenario because Green's also played so well with Bedard. Like Burakovsky, Bertuzzi, and Green have all played really good with Bedard. It's actually kind of a nice almost problem to have, where you have multiple guys that are kind of clicking with Connor Bedard. So, but Bertuzzi with if Burakovsky's out, which I'm assuming he will. We haven't gotten an official update on him, but we'll probably get one soon. And I'm just assuming he's out. Bertuzzi will probably step into the top line. So him having a nice game is a nice sign. He was back after missing a few games with seems like a nagging injury. But yeah, his offense this whole season has been really good. I think he's point per game now after tonight. He's been a real pleasant surprise, honestly, to me. I did not, going into the season, expect him to be nearly this impactful. Next one says, want to call it a rough one for Seattle, but Chicago also played like trash in the third. A lot of awful calls throughout the entire game. Yeah, kind of ignoring the rest. The Blackhawks played really bad, had a really bad third frame. That's really the reason they lost. They were up 2 heading into the third period. Really no reason why you should lose that game. So that's a problem. It's a real annoying loss, especially because of kind of the stuff that's happened with the officiating. But this was also just kind of a stinger because the Blackhawks folded a game that they should have locked up. Terrible icing call at the first goal. Terrible non-call on Bedard. Want to forget about what happened up 2-0 before the third. Incredible 40 minutes. Terrible final 20. Yeah, the first 20 was actually pretty boring. The Kraken they played their systems really well, as we saw in Seattle, where they did that for a whole game. They played really tight defensively in the first period. The Blackhawks seemed to find something, exploit something in the second, and generate some offense, but then the Kraken came right back in the third period. Whatever adjustments they made or however they got back to their systems, it worked because they shut the Blackhawks down in the final frame. Best second period of the year, followed by maybe the worst third, but at least the ref was able to assert his authority tonight. Yeah, that's kind of more of the theme of the game. Really good second period, which is a big positive, but then the bad third period's a big negative. Such an incredibly frustrating loss. I mean, you're up 2-0 heading into the third period. We completely fell asleep on defense in the third. You got to beat the Sabres. Yeah, this was one you want. I mean, to at least get a point out of this game. Very disappointing, but have the Sabres tomorrow. Definitely need a bounce back. Going to be a tough home road back-to-back, though. Those games are not easy. Blackhawks don't have a morning skate tomorrow, so we'll just see where their legs are at. Probably no Jason Dickinson again, probably no Andre Burakovsky. So gonna have some guys playing up in the lineup. We'll see how their legs are, but they're gonna have to. That's a game you have to win tomorrow. Yeah, it really would be kind of take a lot of wind out of the sails if you lose back to back to teams you probably should beat. Finally, a good second period. Then they play like trash in the third. Nazar is clearly playing hurt. Yeah, it's been interesting with Nazar. I think he got a point in this game. He's gotten a few points, but he hasn't quite been as good as we saw at the beginning of the season. There's been, well, I mean, he did have the injury that missed him time, so he's probably still playing through that. So I do think that's probably a logical explanation for why he maybe hasn't had quite the jump that we saw early in the season. Probably has that nagging injury that he suffered in Calgary. At this point, I'm pretty sure like he's been cleared to play, so where it's more of a pain tolerance thing as opposed to something that could not come out again. But it does seem like he may still be fighting through that. Either way, though, he'll have a big role in tomorrow's game, especially with no Burakovsky. He'll probably be back on the top power play unit, have an extended role in terms of providing offense, and we'll see how the team can fare tomorrow in Buffalo. I've said probably 3 times it's going to be a tough home run back-to-back, but I'm excited to see how the Blackhawks handle it. That's going to do it for this one. It's going to be a tough one. It's a tough pill to swallow losing this one, but we'll see how they bounce back tomorrow. We'll see you then.